Hey guys, Dan here. This is TV news and reviews for the week. Welcome to the show. We've gone Netflix heavy for this week's show. I was about to do an all Netflix week because there's so many new shows in the last couple of weeks on there, but there's no way I couldn't do Hulu's Only Murders in the Building. I'm already a little behind on my TV news and reviews, so I've already waited long enough to review that one. I love Steve Martin and Martin Short together. I love them separately too, but together, there's something even more special. And I like Selena Gomez too. She's a part of that show. So I'm gonna throw that one in there, and then 5 Netflix reviews after that, including 3 new animated series, 2 for kids and 1 very adult on Netflix. But before we get there, we got to do the news. I have a ton of things to talk about in the news this week, which makes sense because we are sort of gearing up for the new fall TV season. So a lot of things, being announced and whatnot. So let's first do the renewals and cancellations like usual. We start at Freeform with Good Trouble, renewed for season 4. Now, I have not yet watched this show. It's one of the few things on Freeform I've not ever seen, but I saw the original show, The Fosters, which ran, I think, for 6 seasons, or 5 maybe, and this is a spinoff of that, so I'm familiar at least with a couple of the characters in Good Trouble. And this is an interesting story because, like a lot of shows aimed at younger audiences, in this particular case, younger women, there are very low on-air ratings for this show. It only gets about 164,000 eyeballs on every week with the live show, but it's got much bigger audience on delayed viewing, which includes, of course, DVRs and things like Hulu, and with the delayed viewing, it brings it to the top 10 cable dramas for women under 35. I don't know how many there are, to compete with it, but apparently it's up there, and they're happy enough to give it a 4th season. Gossip Girl, already renewed for season 2 on HBO Max. They have cut the first season into 2 different halves, so they've already put up the first 5 or 6 episodes, and then the remaining half will premiere, I believe, in November. But if you were a fan of the Gossip Girl reboot, that will be returning for season 2. I thought it was all right, but as I said in my original review, I never saw the original show, so I was at sort of a loss, to what the differences were, what the main differences were. But anyway, so that's renewed for season 2. Season 3 already for a Disney Plus show. Disney Plus has not even been on the air a full 2 years, but I say on the air, but in existence a full 2 years. But they've already got season 3 coming up for High School Musical, the series, and I guess I suppose even though we haven't gotten a 3rd season of The Mandalorian yet, that was probably renewed for season 3, right? I can't remember now, but I would think so. But in any event, so they're going to do a season 3 of that just about a month after season 2 wrapped up. And then Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO, renewed now through 2024. He was sort of one of the last late night hosts to not yet renew their contract, because most of them do it on 2 to 3 year cycles, and his current contract takes him to next year anyway. But now it's been renewed through 2024, and what that means is not only 3 more years with Bill Maher, but the show will have then been into 3 different decades, because it started in 2003, so it's gone now 21 years it'll be by the end of this particular contract. So they're very happy with the results there. And I have just one ending, and it's a show I have not seen, but it's very popular. In fact, it's one of Netflix's top shows worldwide, and has been since its creation in 2015 or 16, I think, was the first season. But we've waited a while for season 3 of Narcos, and that finally will be coming up November 5th. There is going to be 10 episodes for that final season, but it will be the final season. 9 new regular cast members are in place, in addition to a lot of the other cast returning. I don't know what about the story makes them have that many cast members, but whatever. And they're also going to have the series' first female narrator along for season 3. One of these days, Narcos is one of those shows. It's like on the ever-growing list of great dramas I need to check out. Mad Men is on there, The Wire is on there, Boardwalk Empire is on there, and Narcos I feel like is one of those as well, because a lot of people do really enjoy this show, and like I said, it's one of Netflix's biggest shows worldwide. All right, going to the Emmy Awards quickly, because of course the main Emmy show is this coming weekend, and so in next week's TV News and Reviews, I imagine I will have all the wrap up for that. But the Creative Arts Emmys was this past weekend, and I'm not going to go over the whole list, but I think it's interesting to note the guest star winners for comedy and drama, just because in my Emmy prediction video with Tim, we did talk about who might be winning some of those awards, and we were certainly right on some of them. Courtney B. Vance won for Lovecraft Country, which we had both hoped. Big fans of that show. 18 nominations total, and yet still canceled by HBO. It's kind of crazy. And this weekend we could see a posthumous Emmy go to Michael K. Williams for that same show, but Courtney B. Vance won for Best Guest Star in a Drama for male, which we had hoped. Claire Foy won on the female side for The Crown, which Tim had predicted. I was hoping maybe it would go to Bernadette Peters or something for Zoe. Or no, I guess that would have been in comedy. I forget who I wanted. I think maybe McKenna Grace or something from Handmaid's Tale. But anyway, the comedy category, no surprise on the male. Tim and I both said Dave Chappelle was going to win that one, and he certainly did for hosting SNL, and he deserved it. He was, I think, of those 5 nominees, the best one there. And then Maya Rudolph won for her hosting gig on SNL. I thought it was an okay job. I had thought actually Issa Rae might win it for her guest on a Black Lady sketch show, especially because Insecure is on an off year, so she wasn't eligible for that show, which the Emmys love. But I had forgotten actually that Maya Rudolph already won this last year for her Kamala Harris impressions, and so there you go. She's won 2 in a row now for the guest actress. And she also won earlier in the day for her voice work on the Netflix show Big Mouth. So she won 2 Emmys in the same day, which is cool. It's her 3rd and 4th Emmy ever. And it is interesting to note, too, she is only the 3rd black woman ever to win back-to-back Emmys. I'm assuming that means for the same category or something. I couldn't quite find any statistics on who the first 2 people were, and it wasn't really, listed where I was looking, so I don't know. I was thinking maybe Felicia Rashad on The Cosby Show, but I have no clue. I mean, maybe Issa. Now, I don't think Issa Rae's won that many though, because usually Julia Louis-Dreyfus wins for the best actress. But anyway, so congratulations to all of them. All right, news about the new season. So Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso, and Ricardo Ayoade from the IT Crowd, and Matt Berry from What We Do in the Shadows are going to star in a new Fox show called Krapopolis. From Dan Harmon. It is an animated series, and it's set in ancient Greece, follows a family of humans, gods, and some monsters trying to run one of the world's first cities. So I don't know. Dan Harmon usually has a pretty solid track record with some weird things. He's the brains behind Community. So that could certainly be interesting. That is set to debut in 2022. Picard is finally returning in February. Now, it's already been announced that season 3 is a go. But, they made a sort of another official press release about it. But they're going to film seasons 2 and 3 back-to-back because it's been so long since season 1. And, of course, COVID slowed a lot of that down. No doubt about that. But season 1 premiered when it was still CBS All Access. And that had to be the beginning of 2020. I feel like it was maybe March or April of 2020 we got that. So season 2 hasn't even started filming yet, so they're hoping that will be on in early 2022, but it's anybody's guess. But Paramount Plus is one of the ones that goes week by week, so they could actually film like the first episode or two and put them up while they're still filming like the tail end of the season. But we can look forward to that. Judy Justice, the Judge Judy, not really spinoff, but her new show is finally premiering November 1st. We've been talking about this for like a year and a half here. It's going to be, though, on IMDb TV, which I didn't quite realize. I thought it was going to be another syndicated show on broadcast networks, but no, it's going to be on IMDb TV. And what will be interesting is it's going to be a daily format for them. Instead of throwing all the episodes up at once, they're going to do a stripped Monday through Friday version like you would see on television for Judy. And it's not going to change too much. Her quote about it was, "Look, I do what I do." And it makes sense. I mean, she's been on the top of the daytime judge game for as long as really she's been around, 25 years maybe, doing the show. The show will include new bailiff Kevin Rasco, which I have mixed feelings about because I love Bird. Bird's been with her since the beginning, but, look, who knows? Maybe he didn't want to do the new show. But her law clerk is going to be her granddaughter, Sarah Rose. So, running in the family there. NFL Slime Time is going to start airing Wednesdays this week and every Wednesday at 7 during football season. And Nickelodeon will air another wild card playoff game in January. So Nickelodeon getting all in sort of on, and they're owned by CBS Viacom, which obviously has a lot of NFL rights. They did a wild card football game this past January. It was a big hit, so they're going to do it again. And Nickelodeon's always, going after whatever's hot. And the biggest show, not that football is new, but I mean the biggest show on television every year is the Super Bowl. NFL games constantly rule the ratings, so makes sense. You can advertise your new Nickelodeon shows for the whole family there, so it makes a lot of sense. And then finally, for some new season stuff, I guess this is more odds and ends, so we'll sort of segue into that. But the daily social distancing show is morphing back into the Daily Show. Trevor Noah has been doing the show from his apartment in New York since the pandemic started. He's, really one of the last hosts to not go back into the studio. Most of them are back by now. But the set will not be where it was in Hell's Kitchen, where it originated in the Kilborn days. It's been at that same studio for, I guess Kilborn started in, 97 or something? So all that time. But no, they're going to move it to Viacom's headquarters in Times Square. And Anthony Fauci will be the first guest on Monday Night Show. So very cool stuff there. Always love The Daily Show. All right, so more odds and ends. Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, the holiday movie, is a go at Roku. We talked about this a few weeks ago as sort of this could happen. It's an idea right now, but they are making it a reality. It is a go. Roku TV is where you can find that, and it is a free app. I have a Roku myself, but I also have the Roku app on my Fire Stick on my other TV. So, you can probably get it on your phone as well. So it will be free, and it's a free app. It's not one that you have to subscribe to or anything. So if you're a fan of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which I was and still am, the holiday special will be coming up in December. Speaking of some free platforms, Fox has that Tubi platform, Tubi, and that has its first original movie coming up. And, I know it's more movie than TV, but it's interesting because Bruce Willis and Michael Rooker are going to star in the movie, two, fairly big names in the world of action. Corrective Measures is the name of it. And, just because it's owned by Fox and everything and you can watch it on your TV, I figured I would throw that in there, and that will premiere in the spring. Super Bowl ads nearly selling out already. $6.5 million for a 30-second spot. Streaming companies and sports betting apps are the top two buyers right now. It's interesting because it used to be, now of course this is, before the days of streaming and betting apps, but it used to always be movie studios because, they would premiere the trailers for their big summer blockbusters in February. Or late January, I guess, and beer, of course. I mean, that's always the go-to. Beer, well, soft drinks in general, I guess, because Coca-Cola, I feel like did some ads too. But yeah, beer and movies used to be number one. Now it's streaming platforms and sports betting apps. So there you go. All right. And Ted Lasso, we must talk more about this show, as I always want to. I think Jason Sudeikis is going to for sure win the Best Actor Emmy this Sunday. I think that the show will win for Best Comedy Series. Something I didn't know, though, its 20 nominations actually ties an Emmy record. Because obviously, yes, the new season is on now, but the Emmys eligibility ended in June, so this is for the first season of Ted Lasso. The 20 nominations for the show tie Glee for most nominations ever for a freshman series. And it didn't even say freshman comedy, it said freshman series. So drama or comedy, Ted Lasso and Glee hold the record there. But anyway, want to talk about season 3 already for Ted Lasso because the salaries shot way up. They were under contract for those first 2 seasons at one salary, and now the salaries are bumping up for all of the main players. Jason Sudeikis himself bumping up to about $1 million an episode. Now, of course, that won't be quite as lucrative as back in the Friends days or the Big Bang Theory days where there's 20, 22, 24 episodes a season. Here there's only 10 or 12, but still, that's a very healthy payday for him. And then even a lot of the side characters, like Juno Temple's character and Hannah Waddingham, they bumped up as well from the $50,000 an episode range to the $150,000 to $200,000 an episode range. So very cool there. And season 2, obviously, tons of buzz on the show, but season 2's premiere had 6 times the audience that the first season premiere did. So obviously word of mouth is crucial to a show like this, with to kind of cut through everything that's on streaming, but that has done it. And the other interesting thing about the latest negotiations is Warner Brothers, which owns part of the show. I'm not exactly sure how it all works, but I guess it's Warner Brothers Studios that makes the show. But they, in the contract, have linear broadcast rights, which means on broadcast or cable television. And they can start airing that within a few years of the end of season 3, regardless of, if Ted Lasso goes 6 or 7 seasons, whatever. The end of season 3, they wait 2 or 3 years, and then they can air it on other channels on television. So Apple is trying to stop that from happening. They're trying to basically rewrite the contract and buy out Warner's streaming or linear rights so they can just exclusively have the access to it. And it makes sense because I have to imagine it is by far the thing driving the most Apple TV Plus subscriptions, right? I think, I don't know, it's interesting to think about that because no streaming shows really go on major networks. The only examples I can think of is sometimes CBS All Access, before it was Paramount Plus, would do that with the first season of Star Trek. They did it, I think, with one season of The Good Fight. Although with Star Trek, they didn't do it until last summer when they were trying to plug holes in their schedule from COVID. So it wasn't like it was always intended for that. But Warner's are looking at some of their owned stations. They own, TBS, they own TNT, and a few others, so they could put Ted Lasso there, obviously in a slightly edited form. Or they also talked about running it on the CW, which is interesting because Warner Brothers does not own the CW. That's owned by Viacom CBS. So whatever the case may be, they can, sell off the rights at this point in time. But yeah, very, very interesting. I didn't know that linear rights of Ted Lasso were even in a contract because, of course, Netflix would never do anything like that. They hold on so tight to their originals. So it's all very, very interesting. But when you have a show that is just on a rocket ride to success like this, that does kind of happen. All right, so quickly we'll do reboots and spinoffs because this is one of the longer news segments I've done for a while. But Yo Gabba Gabba returning at Apple TV Plus, not only with new episodes, but they have procured the original 2007 to 2015 episodes of that show. So they will be available on Apple TV. Again, kind of interesting because, Paramount is the owner of Nickelodeon. So you'd think maybe Paramount Plus would be doing it. But part of the Yo Gabba Gabba stuff deals with the Henson Studios, and they are readying a new Fraggle Rock show. And it also deals with the what is it, Melendez Productions or something that do Peanuts. Apple TV Plus does all the Peanut stuff, so there is some symmetry there. Cops is returning for season 33. Remember, it was canceled last summer during all the George Floyd stuff, and Cops obviously not looking great last summer, so they canceled that Cops show on, I guess it was Paramount Network or something that was running it. I forget who was running it, but anyway, it's going to be on Fox Nation, which is a new streaming service from the people that bring you Fox News. So you could see why, Cops sure makes a good fit there. And they're sort of curating a whole roster of these types of shows. They also have one coming up called 911 On Scene, which is basically going to be cops, but for firefighters and first responders. So, okay, there you go. If you missed Cops in the last year, you didn't get your fill the 33 years previous, here we are again. And then the Batman Penguin spinoff. That's going to be a series in the works for HBO Max with potentially Colin Farrell, who is playing the Penguin in the new Batman movie. He has not yet said that that's happening, but they're sort of circling around his people to see if he's interested in that. I am excited for this new Batman movie, especially if some of our old favorites return. I've heard maybe Michael Keaton will be in it. I try not to do spoilers, so I don't really look into that kind of stuff, but I've definitely heard some rumblings through the grapevine about that movie, and it definitely sounds cool. And I love Robert Pattinson. I think he's really come into his own. But that's a review for a different time. Last thing I have is Tomb Raider is prepping an anime series for Netflix, and Haley Atwell is going to be the star of that, who, of course, plays in the Marvel Universe as Agent Carter. And I did not see the Jolie movies, but I did actually see that movie with Alicia Vikander a few years ago. I thought it was fine. From what I understand, the first Jolie Tomb Raider movie was pretty solid. All right, so let's veer off now into our reviews. We've got 6 of them, but I'm still going to keep this, I think, pretty short, because usually my animated reviews are not that long, and half of these shows are animated. But before we get into our 5 Netflix shows, we got to talk about Only Murders in the Building. This is a new show on Hulu, and I say this time and time again, one of the nice things when I'm sort of behind by a week or two on my TV reviews is it gives me a chance to watch even more episodes of some of these shows. So I've seen now 4 episodes of this show, and I think episode 5 might have gone up today, but I haven't gotten to that yet. But this is, like I said up top, Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, and it is a comedy series, almost farce-like, but it's a comedy series in which a murder occurs in this apartment building in New York, and so afterwards these 3 neighbors who discover their love of true crime podcasts decide to start their own investigation on who may have killed this dude, because the police are ruling it as a suicide and they think otherwise, these guys and gals. So this show, look, I was sold from the cast, and then I heard the concept and I was like, okay, that's even funnier. And then as I'm watching, these guest stars keep popping up, and it makes total sense because, look, Martin Short and Steve Martin have more friends in this business. I've never heard anybody really say a cross word about either one of them. So they have probably, a Rolodex of all of these famous people, and the names that pop up in this show: Nathan Lane, Tina Fey, Sting, and not just for a scene or a couple of lines. I mean, recurring roles for some of these people. So that has been a lot of fun. And Selena Gomez, look, I'm a fan of her music. I sort of missed the boat on her starring days as a child actor. I guess she was on one of the Disney Plus didn't exist yet. One of the Disney shows, I think, or she might have been a Nickelodeon girl. I don't even remember now, but these are shows my little sister was watching 15 years ago. But I like her music, and she always seems, in interviews and stuff, she seems very approachable and fun. And so I thought, this has to be good. And then I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score, 100%, which, TV shows get much less Rotten Tomato critics than movies do. Movies will get into the 200s, 250 sometimes, but this has, I think, like 30 some reviews, but still that's pretty good. 100%, not one person dislikes it. So look, they're all right, they're all correct. This show is great. It's one of the best shows of the year, hands down. It's hilarious. Martin Short plays this failed Broadway producer who tried to make a splash musical with a live pool. It failed. Steve Martin is an over-the-hill actor who was on a CBS procedural for 9 years. And Selena Gomez, well, we don't quite know her story yet. We're unfolding it as we go. And so it's been interesting to kind of watch all of that unfold. I'm not going to tell you really anything about her character because I think we do get into spoiler territory there. But 4 episodes and we're still kind of unwinding who she even is. So this works on all of the levels it's trying to. It certainly works as a comedy. No surprise there with these pros. But it also works as a mystery. It works as a commentary on true crime podcasts. It works as a commentary on, living in a big apartment complex in the city. It sort of, tackles some issues with, what that entails. It just sort of, and it works as an actual mystery, not just a commentary on mysteries. There is a real mystery here to delve into. And this is not showing, I believe, as a limited series, which means we might get more seasons of this, and I'm so excited about that. So look, because this show is already running long, and I'm just singing the praises of this thing. So we can move on from here. One thing I did want to say about it though, it isn't quite there yet because I think it's going to take a rewatch to know if this is true, but it reminds me sort of like the layers of comedy in Arrested Development, where they'll mention something in episode 1 or 2 and it comes back 3 episodes later, as sort of a wink and a nod or a callback. And I think once, as we're getting to know these characters a little bit better, look, nothing is, I think, ever going to match the denseness of jokes in Arrested Development. But I think this sort of is on that, not quite that level, but a similar tip of like, I feel like once this is over, I might want to rewatch the whole thing and kind of, now that I know the characters a little better, see kind of what I was missing in those first couple episodes. I don't know. It's just a feeling I have. But this is a great show. I give Only Murders in the Building an A. It is for sure one of the best shows of the year. So let's move on now. We've got 5 Netflix shows, like I said, and we're going to start with the 2 live action ones. One is a drama and one is a reality show. So the drama is called Clickbait. This is a mini-series. And it actually comes from Australia. It was mostly shot in Los Angeles. It was mostly shot in Australia, even though it takes place in America. But it's sort of a joint production, I guess. And it stars Zoe Kazan, who I know from a handful of indie movies about 10 years ago. And then Adrian Grenier from the horrible Entourage program. But this is an interesting one. I wasn't sure what this was going to be about. I knew it was sort of a drama, but it's definitely more than that. I'd almost call it a thriller. But basically, in this first episode here, Zoe Kazan and Adrian Grenier play brother and sister, and they're at odds with each other. They're having some family issues and squabbles. She's his younger sister, and we start, with this big fight at dinner, and then the next morning, she sees at work that he is in this YouTube or whatever video that is making the rounds, and he's holding up a sign saying that he has abused women, and if this video gets 5 million likes or views, he's going to die. and then subsequent videos, have him holding up a sign saying he, is a murderer and all of this. So the mystery unfolds there. And she's trying to figure out what's going on. She's in contact with his wife to try and figure out what's going on. The cops are in the know on this. So I saw 2 episodes of this, and of course, since it's on Netflix, all the episodes are up right now. I think there's 8 total, maybe. Let me look. I think that's correct. So yeah, 8 total. So I watched the first 2, and I think this mystery actually is kind of interesting. Now it gets a little bit like over the top, a little hammy sometimes with some of the performances, and what aren't you telling me, and that kind of stuff. But trying to find this Nick character is certainly interesting. They've gotten, a few different leads, and there's these different groups that are trying to help and some that are trying to not help. And, one thing that stuck out to me right away is the unbelievability of the police in this, because they're just kind of letting her like go with them on their quest to find the body and like all this stuff. And it's just like, I don't think civilians are, typically just tag along, but whatever. I guess the cop is kind of sweet on her, so they let her do it. And she is, she's Zoe Kazan, so she's so cute. This does not amount to much more than sort of, popcorn mystery entertainment. But I think it actually does do a pretty good job at that. Now, again, this is one of these series, we have these a lot, where it's like, the grade for the whole series is going to depend greatly on how it wraps up. And a lot of times shows like this get crazier and crazier the more episodes that go on. So by episode 7 or 8, you're just like, what am I even watching? Like, nobody's making any sense, whatever. I sort of get the sense that this could be a product of that. So I'm gonna temper my grade a little bit, but I kind of enjoyed these first 2 episodes. I think I may continue on this journey to find out what happened to Nick, where is he, who's putting him up to this, et cetera. Some interesting questions with no concrete answers after the first couple shows. But hopefully by episode 8 we have a satisfactory conclusion. I'm gonna leave Clickbait with a B-. Up next is Titletown High. Now, this is a reality show about a high school football team in Georgia last year, so during the COVID era. And it's their first season under, the new head coach. And this is, again, it's on Netflix, so you can see all 8 episodes right now. One good thing about it is they're only half-hour episodes. Most shows like this, of the sort of reality, high school kind of style, are an hour long. In fact, most reality TV in general, I guess, is an hour long, because they really want you to get to know the characters and stuff. But this show has so many issues, we don't even need to know the characters, because they're not that deep. They cheat on their girlfriends and boyfriends, and they have attitude problems, and they're, stupid kids and whatever. When I first read the premise for this, I thought, okay, well, this could be something, of interest, with being, kind of the first reality show set in a high school to deal with COVID. And okay, what are these kids dealing with on the football team? The first one we meet is, a senior, and he's like, I don't want my senior year to be, ruined, and my nephew is on his school's track team, and he was a freshman last year, and he was a sophomore last year, but I just thought, thank God he's not a senior. And, because they just didn't have any track meets last year. They didn't, they weren't able to do it. And so I thought watching a show like this would really bring me some insight into, oh man, like what does that look like? What does a football season look like? But here's the problem. It's not about the football at all. It's about the lives of these kids, and not the football lives at all. Academic stuff, no. It's all this boyfriend-girlfriend stuff, fighting with my parents, fighting with each other, da-da-da-da-da. It's it's such a disappointment from what could have been maybe an interesting look into how schools reacted during COVID, because that's such a hot button issue even now a year and a half later. So I thought that could be very interesting. They didn't go with that angle at all. Instead, it comes across as, like an MTV kind of reality show with all these spoiled kids that I just wanted to punch in the face. And look, if you're into that kind of stuff, maybe you'll enjoy this a lot. I'm not. To me, that is like the Kardashians and all that kind of stuff. That kind of reality TV is the lowest, I think, form of television out there. I think it's just, killing people's brain cells right and left. So I hated this. It was horrible. And I can't even say it was done that well. Like, there was nothing unique about it at all. So look, the only reason I'm not going to fail it is because it still will be a time capsule of this is what, high schoolers were dealing with during COVID. So for that alone, I'm not going to fail it. But I thought there was such a missed opportunity here, because they really could have delved into other topics that had some weight to them, and they just didn't do that. So I leave the Titletown High with a D. Definitely not good. All right, so 3 cartoons. Let's start with the adult cartoon first, because this is the one with the highest profile cast, and I think the one that's probably maybe getting the most buzz because of its sort of, pushing the envelope nature. It's called Q-Force, and it features the voices of Sean Hayes, Wanda Sykes, Gary Cole, Laura Metcalf. So a handful of people we know and love, some of which are gay and some of which are just allies, I guess. But the Q here does stand for queer. So this is a LGBT themed cartoon. It's centered on a gay secret agent voiced by Sean Hayes, who basically, is kind of like James Bond. He's like top of his class, at the spy academy, but he ends up getting sort of pushed aside when he comes out as gay. Everyone's up in arms about it. Well, you can't be a gay spy. So they separate him and some of his buddies, and they form Q-Force. And Gary Cole plays the director, who is, this just grizzled old jerk-off. And then David Harbour from Stranger Things portrays basically who replaces the Sean Hayes character at the academy. So I really wanted to like this, as a gay man. I really was like, okay, well, this could be fun and funny. And I love Sean Hayes. I love a lot of these cast members. Laurie Metcalf, of course, from Roseanne and The Connors. Love her. This is just kind of a mess. It's really unfortunate because I wanted very much to like it. And, look, people make a lot of big deals about, Batwoman is the first DC lesbian superhero or whatever. There's always these different things that go around, but a whole show based on it. Okay, well, this could be interesting, but it's not. It's first of all very dated in its presentation and jokes and all of that kind of stuff. I'm actually shocked that so many gay people would be a part of it. It seems like it would be at home on Comedy Central 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Remember that show Drawn Together on Comedy Central, where it was like a reality show. It was like The Surreal Life or whatever, but for washed up cartoon characters. You had and they weren't specifically named because of copyrights, but you had one that was basically like the black chick in Josie and the Pussycats. I forget her name. But one of them was her, and one of them was like a Johnny Bravo or whatever. It's like that. The animation looks similar, a little updated, I guess, with the computer graphics, but it just seems like ripping a page right out of there. The jokes at the expense of gay people, and even the themes of oh, you can't be a gay secret agent. You know, I mean, this is 2000. Like every show and movie has gay secret agents these days. Like it's not groundbreaking in the least. Now I will say there were some funny references that I'm not sure everyone will get, but I think they were sort of nice nods to the gay community. Like there's even a mention of a specific remix of a Whitney Houston song that was like a big gay club hit, you know, and so stuff like that I laughed at. I was like, okay, that's pretty clever. That's a good reference. It's those aren't going to hit everybody. You know, they made like a Tracy Chapman reference. So things that I found kind of humorous. I don't know if it's going to be for everybody, but just in general, the jokes were just very dated, and it was disappointing. I wanted so much more from the pedigree of who's in it and who's involved, but yeah, this is about 15-20 years too late for sure. So I leave Q Force with a D plus. And then we have two kids shows on Netflix now. Sharkdog is the first one we're going to talk about. This is actually currently in Netflix's top 10. It's a show that I had never heard of, but I saw it pop up in the top 10, and I'm like, okay, I guess maybe I should review this. And since I was doing the other Netflix shows this week, so this doesn't feature really anybody that you may have heard of, probably. And a second season is already in the works. They've already renewed this, I guess. But the show is about this 10-year-old kid, Max, and his best friend, Sharkdog, who is, yes, half shark and half dog. You guessed it. And he is, trying to hide it from his parents. Max's parents don't know anything about Sharkdog. But, obviously he's very loud and very boisterous, and he makes a mess everywhere, and, oh, he's cute. This was okay for me. I didn't think this was amazing. The voice works all right. It is in 2D animation, I believe, so I do always enjoy that. Or maybe it is CGI, actually. I think the other one might be 2D that we're going to talk about next. But it's very, like, Nickelodeon-esque. In fact, you know what? This is, I think, from Nickelodeon Studios, which is weird that it's on Netflix. But, I never understand, like, the different contracts. But Paramount owns Nickelodeon, so why isn't it on Paramount Plus? But then at the same time, Netflix does have some of the old Nickelodeon shows on there. I don't know. But in the true sort of fashion of Nickelodeon, this is not a full half hour of a show. It's actually 3 segments. Most of the Nickelodeon shows are 2 sort of 15-minute segments. This one is 3 segments, much like the old Looney Tunes shows or the old Tom and Jerry shows that were made up of the 7-minute theatrical shorts. That's like what this is. Each short is about 7 or 8 minutes, and you get 3 in an episode. They're very similar, though. A lot of it is based on just him trying to hide Sharkdog. I also don't really love the voice of Sharkdog. It's kind of annoying. And D. Bradley Baker, he's the one who does the voice. I found it very annoying. In terms of, the cuteness factor, yeah, it was definitely cute. Can't deny that. It is, I think, something that parents could watch with their kids and not sort of roll their eyes at, not think, oh, this is really stupid. Because I think it's perfectly acceptable and fine. But I did find some of it annoying, and I just didn't think it was all that funny. I was hoping for maybe a little more from the premise, but, I think it was Nickelodeon that brought us Cat Dog years ago, right? I can't remember if Cat Dog actually talked, though. I don't know. But anyway, so let's move on from this one. I'm going to leave Sharkdog with a C+. Now, finally, we have Heart Arlo, and this is one that has a previous movie that came out, I think, in like April or May, and there was one point in time where I was gonna review a handful of Netflix animated movies, because they, like, every week or two they had released a different one over the course of like 2 months. So there was like 4 or 5 of them, and I was like, oh, maybe I should do a video about this. And then, time kind of passed, and none of them really seemed to get any traction. Nobody was talking about them, so I just kind of forgot about them. And then I saw this Arlo character has his own show now. And so the movie was called Arlo the Alligator Boy. And this one is 2D with its animation. But this follows apparently immediately after the movie, which maybe I'll watch the movie because I did actually think this show was pretty cute. But basically, Arlo, the alligator boy, has all of these new buddies at this new place now, Seaside Heights, I believe it's called. And so most of the voice actors here I didn't recognize, but Tony Hale, of course, Buster Bluth from Arrested Development, and then Brett Gelman is here as well. He's done a bunch of sitcoms over the years, and he was also on Stranger Things for a bit. And then there's a few guest stars here and there, but in the main cast, those are the only two names I really recognized. But it's a show about family. It is actually, it's not even in little segments for a half-hour show. Each episode is only like 13-14 minutes, so they just basically, it's half the time of a regular show, but instead of making it a half-hour episode with 2 segments, they just make each segment an episode. So I think there's 19 episodes or something, but yeah, they're all, except for the last one, which is double sized, they're all like 13 minutes, 14 minutes or so. And each one, basically, we learn a little bit of a lesson, we learn a little more about the characters. And they're all standalones, it doesn't follow a thread necessarily. But one of the things that I loved about I think it was episode 3, is that his best friend here, Birdie, I'm sorry, Aaliyah, his tiger girlfriend. It's not girlfriend, but female friend. She looks kind of like Daniel the Striped Tiger from Mr. Rogers, but she is, clearly some sort of ADHD or Asperger's or, something on the neurodivergent spectrum. And the whole episode is about her trying to do a simple task and getting distracted every step of the way and trying to figure out, what she can do to sort of help that. And of course, Arlo's like right there by her side. She's beating up on herself and he's like, no, like, you're just being you, like, it's cool. I thought that was a great message. I think it's so important for kids to see themselves, for any of their different issues that they might be dealing with. I think it's so important. Sesame Street always did that throughout my childhood. And so I always appreciate that. And other than that, it's a cute show. The characters are cute. Tony Hale, of course, is funny as this little midget pizza guy. I can't say that anymore, but he's half the size or a third of the size of everybody else. But yes, he's very funny, and the whole theme of community and coming together and being kind of a family, it runs throughout this show. So I kind of want to watch the movie now because I think this Arlo, the alligator boy, he's a cute character. And I definitely liked the themes here of this show. So I will leave I Heart Arlo with a B+. So that's going to do it. Next week, I think we're actually going to do a bunch of Peacock shows because they've just released a handful last week, including the Frogger game show, which I'm excited about. There's a junior version of, is it Top Chef? It's one of the Bravo shows, I think. So there's a junior version of that, and there's I think a sitcom as well. There's a bunch of new shows on Peacock, but I may not do all Peacock because I do want to do that new Doogie Howser remake on Disney Plus as well. And there is, believe it or not, another Netflix show that I didn't even get to because we had all these other things. So I might watch that too. So it might not be all Peacock, but a lot of Peacock, I think, next week. That's going to do it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see everybody next time.